I appreciate y'all. Welcome back to the show. So, SEC Chair Paul Atkins has been very positive about DeFi from a technology side, meaning he has an understanding of the inner workings of decentralized finance and why things like staking are not necessarily a function of a security, but more a function of a software, like an operational element. I believe the analogy I brought up a couple weeks ago was the accelerator for your car, your gas pedal. For a proof of stake network, if you can't stake, you can't press the accelerator, the car doesn't move. If you can't stake on a proof of stake network, the network doesn't move. That would or would not happen regardless of your investment. This is what the SEC is beginning to understand. And for that very reason, I believe that thanks to the new SEC chair, we could be right around the corner from a DeFi Summer 2.0. Let's jump into the clip so you can hear from him, from the man himself.
Another core feature of blockchain technology is the ability of individuals to have self-custody of crypto assets in a personal digital wallet. The right to have self-custody of one's private property is a foundational American value that should not disappear when one logs on to the internet. I'm in favor of affording greater flexibility to market participants to self-custody crypto assets, especially where intermediation imposes unnecessary transaction costs or restricts the ability to engage in staking and other on-chain activities.
Now, this pairs well with a story that we covered a couple last week, as a matter of fact, where other members of the SEC, a division of the SEC, gave statements on protocol staking activities. And in those statements, they also acknowledged the operational importance of staking for certain crypto networks. So, this new level of understanding from the SEC was unimaginable years ago. It genuinely was. And I want to go back to the quote specifically on how he compared this to private property. Private property. That's the part that I found to be the most profound, because this shows that you have a true. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that Mr. Atkins has used DeFi and is currently using DeFi, because you have to have been in it to give us a perspective like this. The right to have self-custody of one's private property is a foundational American value that should not disappear when one logs on to the internet. This can echo into the world of blockchain games, digital ownership, or fan tokens. This can really get deep. But for the sake of the DeFi conversation, when he's referring to private property, self-custody, he's talking about your money. Your money is private. It should be private. All the more reason why I'm looking at these comments from the SEC and I'm asking the question: is Mr. Atkins getting ready to reignite the DeFi space? Just leaning on this perspective, guys, let me show you the world that I envision. What we have here are popular meta banks that allow you to control your own money without having to go to a brick and mortar institution. Some of y'all know these names: Chime, Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, Greenwood. Yes, I have a Greenwood account. If you black and you don't have a Greenwood account, okay, come on now, get it together. Shout out Killer Mike. But the point I'm making is, with this renewed perspective coming from the SEC, where they see DeFi and DeFi protocols and DeFi activities as a form of personal property, then it creates an environment where the top crypto exchanges, obviously Coinbase, Uphold, Kraken, Gemini, can be more vocal about their DeFi and yield bearing opportunities. We began to see that with Coinbase, Uphold, and Kraken, where the moment Donald Trump got inaugurated, within weeks, we started to see staking reopen up on these platforms. Not quite sure if Gemini has tapped back into it. If they haven't, they will. That will be on the centralized side. But again, what Mr. Atkins is emphasizing is the personal element to it, the personal property element to it, the self-custody element to it. When you're dealing with centralized exchanges, it's not self-custody. Even though Coinbase and Uphold, and I think Kraken has a Web3 wallet too, they offer self-custody options, but the self-custody is still supported by their servers, still supported on their platforms. But when you get into the DeFi side of things, the truly decentralized self-custody side of things, you get into names like Saucer Swap, Hashpack from our friends at Hedera, Folks Finance over at Algorand, VVS Finance with Crypto.com, and the first DeFi platform I ever used in Justlin on the Tron network. These are, I wouldn't say lesser known, because if you're in the DeFi community, these names are the biggest. You know these names. But these are platforms that are permissionless. You don't, as long as you have an internet connection, you can access these platforms and you can participate in the DeFi ecosystem. I started with Justlin on the Tron network. It was fast, it was cheap, the interface was simple, and they walked you through the process. I went from Justlin up to VVS Finance when I had my Crypto.com account. Man, I'm telling you, VVS. All right. It's a reason why they're leaning with the diamond marketing, because it was some money to be made back then. Back in 2021, 2022, the rates were much, much higher. All right. Definitely had to get in early. It was one of those assets where I was fortunate enough to get in early, and that's what I did. So VVS Finance was fun. More recently, I have been in the world of the Hashpack. That's where I store my Hedera, engage with the Hedera ecosystem. And then you guys also know, recently, I took the masterclass with Algorand, so they got a special place in my portfolio now. So I'm beginning to explore protocols like Folks Finance and the DeFi opportunities that they have in the Para wallet. So it's names and protocols like that that are permissionless, that may or may not be attached to much larger exchanges, like in the case of VVS Finance. But these platforms will serve a similar function as what the meta banks do for the banking industry now. Because when you really take a look at what a meta bank does, they just remove the teller in the building. But it's the exact same thing. Let me correct myself. Not the exact same thing. Because unlike a traditional bank, there are things that you can't do with your meta bank, like CDs, retirement accounts. At least at this point, I know they're trying. You can't do retirement accounts. You can't do CDs. You also can't do like large scale loans and things like that. However, on these DeFi platforms, you can. You can do borrowing, you can do lending, you can do yield farming. So what I'm getting at here, the point that I'm making is, when you really dig into what our new SEC chair is saying about DeFi and the right to have self-custody of one's private property, this could ripple into creating an environment where DeFi protocols, like the names you see here, become akin to the meta banks that we are all very familiar with in terms of personal finance applications. These protocols here that I'm showing you are the new personal finance applications. The new personal finance application, the new meta banks that are extensions of the centralized exchange infrastructures. Now, we can't knock these centralized exchange infrastructures because they're putting us on the map, guys. All right? But with Mr. Atkins' comments and the new perspective coming from the SEC, my take is they could be getting ready to reignite the DeFi space. DeFi summer, if you weren't here, this was 2020. That was fun. It was an interest, and I say it was fun because it was mainly, it wasn't about all of it. It wasn't a lot of tribalism during DeFi summer. That was the one little pocket in my crypto timeline where I didn't see a lot of tribalism. Even networks that didn't have a lot of DeFi, they recognize, their communities recognize the potential of DeFi. And then a lot of these DeFi protocols, like I said, were permissionless. So everyone was welcome. They were all EVM compatible. They were bringing in everybody's network. That DeFi summer, echoes of the DeFi summer, are genuinely why I believe anyway, the Flare network is fighting so hard today to bring DeFi back to the XRP ledger, or to the XRP ledger, which would be another, to the point of uphold, personal finance DeFi arrangement on the XRP ledger. All of that, yes, I did get from a change in perspective from the SEC. But guys, if you've been around here for a minute, the SEC has been our biggest adversary. And to now hear the new perspective, the new understanding that they have, definitely makes me bullish.